worked abroad for 5 years. I made money and built up contacts. Finally, I returned to my husband. It had been years. He still doted on me clumsily. He was always around me. But when I became pregnant, he suddenly changed. He tore my clothes in public and laid hands on me. I had a miscarriage. You go and give birth. Where will the money come from? I cried and wept. I begged, but he didn't relent. Later, I found encrypted videos on his phone. He used the same methods to seduce another woman. With great enthusiasm, he said, "Baby, let me know if you want a child." I suddenly realized I was just someone he used to practice on. So I sent him a message. "Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, let's go to the Civil Affairs office to get a divorce." The next morning, I arrived at the Civil Affairs office on time. Last night, I sent Jackson a message, but he never replied. Standing outside the door, the cold wind blew directly into my face. Although I had wrapped myself up as tightly as possible, there were still a few places where my skin was exposed. Those were the wounds Jackson had inflicted on me. The people around me saw my wounds. They discussed it. What a pity. It seems that she really has found an unreliable husband. Looking at her wounds, it really makes people feel sad. I quickly averted my gaze. I silently clenched my fists. After a long wait, Jackson finally appeared. He looked all around. Finally, he saw my battered appearance. "You're really here. Emily, you think I'm not busy enough? You're so old, and you're always talking about divorce." He frowned. He looked impatient. I looked at his indifferent expression. It seemed like he hadn't even thought about yesterday. "Jackson, I'm not joking. I'm serious." I stared at him, trying to calm myself. When he heard this, his hand trembled slightly as he took out a cigarette. He stubbed it out casually. He looked up and down at me. He was really angry. Could it be because of the baby? I took a deep breath. The wound on my body still ached faintly. This was already my second miscarriage. The first miscarriage was when Jackson and I first met. At that time, we had nothing, but we had a very good relationship. After becoming pregnant, we worried that we did not have enough financial means to provide a good environment for the child to grow up in. So we decided to give up the baby. I know Jackson has always known how much I like children. This time, I really wanted to keep the baby. After struggling abroad for so many years, I am perfectly capable of raising a child. In the hospital, when he hit my stomach again and again, I was completely disappointed in him. In front of everyone, I questioned him with tears in my eyes. "Jackson, how could you be so heartless? I can't even look after myself, but the child in my belly is innocent." He stared at me, closing in on me step by step, and swung another hard punch at me until I was bleeding from the mouth. The people around me hurried over to dissuade him, and he stopped. I don't want to think about it anymore. I just gritted my teeth and insisted on dragging him into the Civil Affairs Bureau. "Today's marriage. You have to get a divorce even if you don't want to." Jackson didn't immediately reject my request. He seemed very patient. He let me take his hand. We walked around. We reached the final step. I could see the end in sight. Suddenly, he told the staff to stop. "Emily, are you really going to do this? Going abroad? You've really grown. Are you out of your mind? Are you sure you want to do this?" From his tone, I could tell he was a little upset. A few shouts drew everyone's attention. I became the focus of everyone's attention. "Little girl, why are you so stubborn? I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. We've been together for so long. Why can't we just talk things through? It's better to have someone by your side than to be alone. The people around you don't know the situation. They just keep criticizing me, saying I'm unreasonable. I'm unreasonable. He's the one who did something wrong in the first place. Jackson, do you really want me to spell it out for you? I've seen the videos on your phone. I can see them clearly. We haven't seen each other for 5 years. You've done well for yourself." He listened to this. He lowered his head. A strange expression appeared on his face. It seemed like he was regretting it, regretting changing the passwords on his phone. But I found out anyway. His tone suddenly softened, like a popped balloon. "Emily, I can't blame you for this. You were abroad for so long, no one knew when you were coming back, or if you would come back. I'm not a great person, and I don't have the courage to wait for you forever. I have to think about my own future. Victoria is an outstanding businesswoman. She has helped me a lot over the years. I can't thank her enough. Just because you're back, I can't just cut ties with her. Victoria, that's the woman's name in the video." I looked at his serious expression. My heart ached like it was being cut. But I gritted my teeth and said, "Jackson, you're just leaving yourself an escape route. What about me? Since marrying Jackson, I've been under even more pressure. He doesn't have much education and doesn't have many opportunities. With just that salary, Life is tight. For the sake of our future, I decided to go abroad with Sarah to do business. This money is not easy to earn. It's all hard-earned money. When my parents found out that I was planning to go abroad, came from the countryside several times, they earnestly advised me, "Emily, you're a girl. What are you doing going so far away? It's so dangerous there. Isn't life in the country good enough? You're living with Jackson. It's plain and simple. What's wrong with that?" At that time, I had my sights set on the future. I always felt that this bird of mine should have its own piece of sky, despite the repeated advice from my family and friends to stay. I bought a plane ticket without hesitation. Later, my friends back home told me by accident that my parents had a rare disease. They had been holding back the news from me. They felt that, in their final days, being with their beloved daughter was the most precious moment of happiness. I never wanted to leave myself any way out. All my efforts were for a better tomorrow. Tears flowed silently. Jackson didn't know what was going on, but he was always by my side. He gently reassured me. "Emily, listen to me. We've been together for so many years. How could I bear to leave you behind all these years? Victoria has helped me a lot. It can be said, she has saved half of my life. Now her family is pressuring her to get married. She needs someone to help her cope, if her family still wants children. I can only repay her kindness." After hearing his words, I trembled all over. My fingernails dug into the palm of my hand. "Jackson, you need to understand your place. If you want to repay her kindness, why do it this way? Besides, why do you have to do it? She could try IVF, or find someone better than you." Having said all this, Jackson should understand what I mean. He is courting Victoria. Victoria is famous in our city. She has countless riches. Compared to me, she is certainly worth his efforts and devotion. I know, Jackson has never been very flexible in relationships. A business alliance is obviously not suitable. He can only find a way to win Victoria's heart. For this reason, he tried again and again with me, trying to find a way to make a woman wholeheartedly. Those so-called 100 little things you must do in a relationship, and various ways to enhance the relationship. He wanted to try them all on me. No wonder when I returned to China, he was especially affectionate towards me. I originally thought that as long as two people truly cared for each other, no matter how far apart they were, they would still be able to spark when they reunited. Now it seems that I was naive. He could try me over and over again, but with Victoria, he was only willing to try once. Once he succeeded, he would be able to live a good life with no worries. He would have reached the pinnacle of his life. And now I am just an experiment that could be abandoned at any time. To them, I'm a losing investment. I can't understand it. Even though Jackson is like this, why won't he let me go? No matter how hard I try, no matter how harshly I speak to him, he just won't divorce me. I squeezed his arm as hard as I could, and I hit and cursed at him. But suddenly he laughed. He laughed at how I can't control the situation now, and at how I can still hold Emily back. I staggered out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. I didn't want to go back to the home that broke my heart, a place that used to make me feel at peace. Now it was torture. Jackson quickly disappeared from my sight, not even a shadow left behind. I boredly opened my phone. I casually browsed through my friend's circle. Unexpectedly, I saw Jackson's mother's updates. Victoria gave me such a beautiful necklace. In fact, I had told him not to buy it before, but he is close with Jackson, so he bought it anyway. My son bought a new car. We're planning a family vacation to Miami next year. Our Jackson is really blessed. He's met such nice people. I'll be able to relax in the future. I looked at the text and pictures. Victoria was standing in the middle. Jackson was on the left. Jackson's mother was on the right. All three of them had sincere smiles on their faces. It seemed that I was just supposed to be a bystander. In the past, Jackson's mother never posted anything like this. She felt that life was hard enough already. There's no need to pretend to be happy for other people. Now a few of the posts she sent to her friends. None of them mention me. Even though she may have already known that I returned to China, she has no intention of welcoming me home. I understand. She is slowly excluding me from the Jackson family circle. Thinking about this, I leave a message under her post. "Auntie, I'm back in China. Why haven't I heard from you?" Soon, my phone rang with a message alert. It was from Jackson's mother. "Emily, what's wrong with you? You're talking nonsense down there. People think I'm rude. Intentionally picking on people. You suddenly left the country. Without a word, you left Jackson at home. You didn't care about him for 5 whole years. Have you ever thought about what he must be feeling? You need to stop pestering him. To be honest, I didn't really like you at first. Her tone was full of sarcasm. I felt a sharp pain in my heart. I quickly walked to the roadside and bought a bottle of water to drink. That made me feel a little better. When I was young, Jackson was awkward and self-conscious. Jackson's mother was very satisfied with my presence, whether it was handling interpersonal relationships or my attitude towards problems. I did my best, however. My daughter-in-law now makes her unhappy. I felt sad. My hands trembled as I sent a message to Jackson's mother, asking her to have dinner together. This was the last meal I would have with the Jackson family. At the table, Jackson arrived with Victoria. Jackson's mother had specially picked out an outfit and reserved the seat next to Jackson for Victoria. I noticed all this, but I didn't care. I just dressed in simple clothes and sat in the corner. After working abroad for so many years, the most useful thing I've learned is to keep a low profile. Even though I don't lack money or power now, Sarah will be returning to China soon. She will personally teach me the ropes. But these are all just my personal matters. What do they have to do with the Jacksons? Victoria is even more beautiful than I imagined. Although she is simply dressed, her complexion is obviously much better than mine. When she saw me, she only gave me a fleeting glance. She treated this meal like an ordinary gathering. Jackson's mother has experienced a lot. Naturally, she understands the purpose of this meal. Although Jackson kept on helping Victoria by picking up her food, peeling her shrimp and ladling her soup, no one told him to restrain himself a little. I stared at the man in front of me. I originally thought that he was only gentle with me. I never imagined that he could be like this with other people. In the past, he didn't understand any of this. It was only after returning to China that I half-jokingly taught him and told him how to please a woman. I thought it was just a joke, but he took it seriously and even used it on other women. I really couldn't eat anymore. It felt like a thorn stuck in my throat. I put down my chopsticks. I took out the divorce papers I had prepared from my bag. I threw them on the table. I asked everyone to come here today. It's just for these divorce papers. If you still want to spare my face, just sign them. I don't want to make things too awkward. I said all this to Jackson. He was just like last time. He was cold towards me from the start. Jackson's mother spoke first. "Emily, you've got some nerve. You've got some nerve to mention divorce first. The woman is the one who filed for divorce. I've never seen anything like it. She's been away for so long. She seems to have changed nothing. Nothing has changed. I don't know who she's been spending all the money on. My Jackson is doing so well now. If you divorce now, no one will gossip about you in the future. If they don't know, they'll think you've gone abroad to enjoy yourself. What a loser." I grimaced. "You're right. I really am incompetent. I'm so incompetent that I've given up everything I know. I've gone abroad alone. I've scrimped and saved. I've given Jackson the best, because I know that men have to save face abroad. I can wear clothes on sale, but he can't." I didn't explain anything. I just raised my glass and drained the glass of red wine in one go. My face immediately turned red. "Auntie, you're right. I really am not good enough for Jackson now. Can I leave with some dignity?" After saying this, I felt another twinge of pain in my heart. Jackson knew I was allergic to alcohol. He probably also sensed my determination to get a divorce. When Jackson's mother saw him hesitate, she simply handed him the divorce papers. "Son, what are you waiting for?" I waited anxiously, keeping my eyes on him. When he finally signed, my heart finally settled. Now that it was done, I immediately got up and left. Jackson came out to see me off, maintaining a basic level of politeness. At the door, he finally said to me, "Emily, it's hard to find work in the country. Why don't you come to Anderson Group? This is a branch of Victoria. If you come, I can at least take care of you a little." He didn't seem to realize that this was actually a disguised humiliation. Instead, he felt that this was for my own good. However, when I heard the name Anderson Group, I didn't refuse. I turned to him and said, "Sure," and smiled at him. Thanks to Jackson's connections, I was able to get a job at Anderson Group. This was a branch office. No one there knew me, but things don't stay hidden for long. My colleagues found out that Jackson had helped me get in through the back door. They couldn't stop talking about it. "How dare she come here? This is so embarrassing. She's either stupid or insane." This is the first time I've seen someone so eager to ingratiate themselves. It really makes me feel uncomfortable. The people around me are approaching me with unfriendly expressions. Although I feel uncomfortable, I don't really care. I received a WeChat message from Sarah. She said, "Emily, why did you go to Anderson Group? I told you to come to my place, wait for me." When I saw Sarah's message, I felt warm inside. If she hadn't taken me abroad to develop business, I wouldn't have achieved what I have today. She is not only my good friend, she is also my partner. I came here just to wait for Sarah. She needs a new start in China, and the place under my feet is probably her first choice. I didn't wait for Sarah. Instead, I waited for Jackson. Seeing him dressed so formally, I almost laughed. He waved the thermos in front of me and said, "Look what I brought you. Pork ribs and winter melon soup. It's getting cold lately. Drink up." I silently pushed the bucket aside. "I just said I wasn't hungry. Emily, can you stop sulking? Although we didn't seal the deal, our fate is still linked. You're sitting here so peacefully. It's actually thanks to me. Don't be ungrateful. Only we two know about this." I raised my eyebrows slightly. I glanced out of the window. "Jackson, are you serious? You want to see who's outside?" As soon as I said that, Victoria, in her high heels, hurriedly walked in. Everyone in the branch knew that Victoria generally wouldn't show up unless it was something really important. It seemed today was an exception. I saw Victoria coming. She slowly unscrewed the lid of the thermos. She pursed her lips and pretended to enjoy the taste. Then she asked, "Jackson, how long did you boil it? This soup really tastes good. Why don't you deliver it again tomorrow? I'll be waiting for you on time." As soon as she finished speaking, Victoria walked up to Jackson. She slapped him hard. "Jackson, you need to explain what happened today. I thought you would pay attention. So I didn't care. But you're good at it. You're climbing the ladder." Her tone was full of anger. I watched all this and suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of relief. Jackson felt aggrieved. He said like a little dog, pitifully, "Victoria, I know I was wrong. Can you forgive me? I promise, in the future, no matter what I do, I won't hide it from you. I'll tell you everything." Victoria gave him a glare. He immediately shut up and didn't say another word. Then he turned his head and looked at me. I was drinking with a greasy mouth. He asked, "Had enough? Shall I ask someone to go out and buy you another one?" Hearing this hostile tone, I remained calm. I didn't show the slightest sign of panic. She just smiled. "I thought you were a slowpoke. It must be uncomfortable for you with me between you and Jackson. Emily, I don't usually like to cause trouble. Jackson is involved with you. I didn't go looking for you. That's already pretty tolerant. You really feel at ease. Jackson is nice to you. You just take it all for granted. You think you deserve it. No matter how you compare, you are not as good as me. When Jackson is by your side, is he as obedient as he is with me?" Jackson heard this. A hint of embarrassment appeared on his face, but he continued to explain to her, "Victoria, let's be friends. Let's just cut the crap. I promise I won't do it again. You tell me what to do with her. I'll do whatever you say." Seeing his servile expression, a sudden anger welled up in me. I've taught him so many tricks. I never thought he'd be willing to grovel to another woman. Maybe I still like the old Jackson, the one who was a bit green and even a bit clumsy. I looked at Victoria. Her expression also relaxed slightly, but she didn't intend to let me off the hook. Instead, she smiled at me. "Emily, you're quite comfortable here, aren't you? Don't worry, I won't let you leave. You can stay here and clean the toilets. I'll pay you. If you're short of money, just let me know. For Jackson's sake, I'll see what I can do." I looked at her. Not a trace of panic. I didn't feel any shame either. In the face of absolute strength, these are nothing. The Anderson Group has been favored by many people over the years, but according to the inside information I know, it is actually an empty shell. The company can't even support its own cash flow. Thinking about this, I asked Victoria, "Hey, what do you like about Jackson? With your current situation, there should be many suitors around you. You don't really think that Jackson's awkward and shy appearance is endearing, do you? He tried that on me before. I never thought we would be in the same boat." Victoria's face suddenly turned red. "You, what are you talking about? How dare you say that to me? I just have to move my finger and you won't be able to stay in the country. What's your name here?" Just as we were talking, there was another loud noise outside. I saw the big brown wavy curls. I knew it was Sarah. She asked, "Who said they could get rid of someone with just one finger? I'd like to see it. A barely there person can't be that arrogant." Sarah took off her sunglasses, walked over to me and touched my shoulder lightly. "Oh, that's right. I forgot to tell you, my name is Sarah. I recently bought the Anderson Group. This is my good friend, Victoria." Victoria's arrogance suddenly diminished. Her tone was tinged with doubt. "Sarah, you know her. You're not kidding me. She's not on the same level as you. How can she be on the same level as you? This is my personal business. Please don't interfere." Sarah snorted softly. She said, "Do you know why I bought your company? It's because my family's Emily is here. If it weren't for this reason, a company like yours I wouldn't even consider. Now your business is also related to me now. Today I must intervene." avenge my best friend. My eyes are moist. Sarah comes from a wealthy family. She could have led a comfortable and carefree life, but she was not content to be bound. She preferred to forge her own path. She thought of herself. I thought of my family when we met. We felt like old friends. Although the prospects for foreign markets are good, they also come with many challenges. During the most difficult times, Sarah and I shared a bed. We ate snacks we just bought from the convenience store. We laughed foolishly. We supported each other for 5 years. We struggled together for 5 years. Finally, we saw hope. Now the whole system is running smoothly. We don't need to worry about it anymore. That's why we returned to China. Victoria quietly watched Sarah and I interact. Slowly, she sensed that something was wrong. Her tone softened a little. Sarah, I came here today to check on the work. I didn't expect to run into Jackson sneaking around behind my back, mixing with other people. Sarah sneered. Victoria, what are you playing at? Don't tell me. When Jackson first approached you, you didn't know he already had a family. Don't you feel the slightest bit of guilt? Not to mention that you couldn't resist his advances. How could anything come to fruition unilaterally? Victoria's expression immediately became a little embarrassed. I think she must have met all kinds of people. Like Jackson, it must be the first time for her too, after all. My lover, whom I personally cultivated and trained. Naturally, he will be very popular. You still have external debts to repay, right? Now you kneel down. Apologize to Emily. I may still be able to forgive you. Otherwise, you can just go beg on the streets. Victoria finally couldn't hold on anymore. Her body began to lean slightly. It seemed like she was going to kneel down. Baby, do you really want to kneel? You're on your period today. You must not feel well. Why don't I kneel for you? Is that okay? Jackson's eyes were full of worry. Before anyone else could say anything, he suddenly knelt on the ground. I calmly looked at the man who had once been so close to me. Now he was kneeling before me. My heart felt blocked. It was suffocating me a little. As the saying goes, it is often said that the daily grind of life with children and cooking can test a couple's love. Jackson and I would sometimes argue about which soy sauce to use, and sometimes we would inexplicably agree on something. We could fight bitterly over trivial matters, but we could also make up quickly. We experienced the passion of love, and we learned to support each other in the ordinary days, despite our efforts. We eventually parted, in the eyes of others. We were once a loving couple. Now we are like fire and ice. I don't want to understand, nor do I want to delve into the various reasons behind it all. I only understand that when the result of an event is in front of you, there must have been a process leading up to it, even if no one else knows it. Jackson, did I tell you to kneel? If Victoria doesn't kneel today, even if you kowtow to me, I won't relent. You have to kneel, then kneel with her. I shouted these words almost hoarsely. My whole body trembled. Jackson didn't care about what I said. His knees eventually knelt before me, watching Victoria slowly kneel down. Sarah's mouth slightly rose. You think you're so great. At the dinner table, Emily told me, you kept pestering Jackson for this and that. You really have no shame. You did this, but you didn't seem so confident flaunting it in front of the original wife. You even used your family's forced marriage as an excuse to cover up your true thoughts. I can see this, child. Sooner or later, you will have to give birth to Jackson. Why pretend to be modest? Sarah's words made the man and woman in front of her unable to hold their heads up. Jackson suddenly thought of something. He said to Sarah, sister, can you lend me $5 million? You believe in my abilities. I'm willing to serve you for the rest of my life. I just want to help Victoria pay off her debts. I'm not lending it to you. If you're willing to ask, go borrow it from Emily. She's earned $5 million in commissions in half a year. She's a real little rich girl. Jackson shifted his gaze to me. His lips moved. It seemed like he wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say a word. He looked listless. It was as if he had lost his motivation. Jackson, it seems you don't even have the courage to talk to me now. I don't think I owe you anything in this life. You said you wanted to go to a class reunion. You were worried about losing face. Without saying a word, I bought you a suit and a watch, even though at the time my monthly salary in China was only 5,000 yuan. Everyone says, loving someone is like taking care of a plant. I'll teach you how to go from awkward to nimble and clever. I'll encourage you to try things you've never done before. When you're sad, I'll drink with you too, even though I can't hold my drink. I'll pass out after just one glass, and I'm allergic to alcohol. All of this. Don't you remember? It's better to forget. It's better to forget. Let bygones be bygones. To me now, it's more like an invisible shackle. Jackson, I'm officially notifying you now. You can leave my world. We will never meet again." Victoria decided to leave the company on her own. Sarah stripped her of all power. She walked listlessly around the office every day. People around her pointed at her. Gradually, she stopped wearing lipstick when she came to the office. She also stopped wearing those capable professional outfits. In the end, she really couldn't bear the invisible pressure. She had to say goodbye to everything she once had. And Jackson, like her shadow, followed her. In order to help Victoria pay off her debts, he took 3 jobs a day. He scrimps and saves. He even eats 2 meals a day with just 1 bun. Even so, it's still not enough. Sometimes he has to get up before dawn. He sits in a breakfast restaurant and orders a bun and soy milk. While eating, he stares into space. Occasionally, something will come to mind. Tears well up in his eyes. In the steamy air, it's hard to tell if he's crying or just smiling. I took some time to go back to that place full of memories. I used to think the house Jackson and I lived in was too small. Whenever I bought something, there was nowhere to put it. Now, when I tidy up, I don't feel like there's much. The things I used to treasure have lost their luster. I found the bracelet my mother left me. It was passed down in the family. She told me to always wear it. She said it would help me find a good husband, and that I would be rich and carefree all my life. Unfortunately, now I have a successful career, but they are no longer with me. I really want to go back to the days before I left for abroad. If only I had realized earlier that something was wrong with my parents' health. I insisted that they receive treatment. If only they were still with me now. If only I hadn't insisted on going abroad. Why did they get so angry that they fell ill? I feel more and more like an unfilial daughter. The bracelet in my hands suddenly dropped to the ground. It made a heart-rending sound. Tears kept falling. They fell to the ground. I found all the things in the house that were related to Jackson. There were even the photo frames we made together on our trips. Every year on my birthday, he would write me a birthday card by hand. He also made handicraft gifts for me. Later, I lit these cards on fire. His smiling face slowly turned to ashes in the fire. I left the ashes at home. He will understand one day. Those ashes are his deeply buried memories. I paid for a house in one go. I was satisfied with the security and location, so I could concentrate on my work and enjoy life. I knew my body was failing. I worked hard abroad to earn money, although I earned a lot. My health also collapsed. Every month I had to struggle to send money to Jackson, worried that he was not doing well on his own. I always kept blaming myself in my heart. Emily, how could you be so stupid? You're really stupid. For a man, you even went abroad. Did you really think that if you just give, you will get in return? That man is useless, and you're still willing to support him, I think. No one is more infatuated than you, so I went to the hospital. The doctor said I already had a lot of health problems, coupled with multiple abortions. My body has been irreparably damaged to the endometrium and pelvic inflammatory disease. The accumulation of fluid in the fallopian tubes has caused infertility. The doctor in front of me was the same one Jackson had brought me to last time. "Doctor, is there any other way?" I asked her with a last glimmer of hope. She looked at me, closed the door gently. Her eyes were full of love and concern. She said, "My dear, the most important thing for you now is to stay happy. Eat well and drink well. We are both women. I understand what you're thinking. As long as you're happy with your life, that's enough. Don't care too much about what others think." I nodded. When I went to get the medicine, I accidentally bumped into a man. I heard him grunt. That's when I recognized him as Jackson. He was wearing a mask. His clothes looked ordinary. The only thing that hadn't changed was his puppy-like eyes. Although we were both fully covered, we had been together for so many years. We were still the most familiar strangers. Emily, is that you?" I was about to turn around and leave, but he grabbed me. He had a strong grip. He seemed a little flustered. He was awkwardly trying to say something. It seemed like he had something to tell me. I saw at a glance that he was holding something in his hand. I looked closer. It turned out to be a diagnosis. It said terminal lung cancer. I could imagine. He was alone on the construction site, covered in dust. To help someone pay off their debts, he could endure anything. What an admirable man. "Emily, why are you here at the hospital? Are you not feeling well?" I was filled with anger. I just wanted to shake his hand off. He asked, "Is it because of the miscarriage last time that you have a problem with your health?" "Jackson, let go of me. We are no longer related. My life, whether it is good or bad, whether I live or die, has nothing to do with you." He heard me shouting. He was startled. "Emily, if I had known this would happen, I would have." Tears filled his eyes. This was the first time I saw him cry. He was holding back his sobs. It made my heart ache. Emily, the doctor told me that I have terminal lung cancer. There is little hope of a cure. Now I'm almost 1 foot in the door of hell. Can you listen to me for a moment, Emily? I've wronged you in the past. I'm useless. I made you work hard to earn money. I really went too far. You can hit me and scold me. I just hope you can be happy in the future. I finally shook his hand. My palms were sweating. Jackson, as long as you disappear from my life, I'll be happy. You stay in front of me for 1 second more. I don't feel comfortable. You think you have lung cancer now. I'll change my attitude, I said for the last time in a warning tone. Jackson, I'll tell you, I've worked so hard abroad for so long. What is it for? I have suffered no less than you. I don't feel sorry for you at all. Besides, I didn't cause your illness. Aren't you deeply in love with Victoria? You've made your sacrifice. You deserve to be here. But now that you're here, I don't think you dare tell Victoria. You're afraid that once you do, you'll lose your leverage. So I suggest you spend the rest of your time reflecting on yourself. Maybe in your next life, you can get a better start. After saying all this, I strode away. I didn't turn back. I didn't exhale deeply until I was out the hospital doors. The sun was shining outside. The depression in my chest also dissipated. Jackson came up again. I didn't say much. I just kicked him. After working out in the gym for so long, the weak Emily from before was gone. He fell to his knees. His hands covered his lower body. Pain was written all over his face, but he gritted his teeth. With difficulty, he spat out a few words. Emily, please spend a day with me. Just 1 day. I just want to have no regrets in this life. If you don't promise me, I won't be able to rest in peace in the ground. Emily, I'm begging you. I gave him a cold stare. The way he looked now was no different from a stray dog on the street. The old Jackson was a bit clumsy, but he was so cute. He would fill the trunk with flowers for me. It was a bit old-fashioned, but it was full of love. Sometimes he was short of money, so as not to embarrass me. He would even go so far as to rent a luxury car. He would accompany me to my friends' parties as my husband. If he made me angry, he would do all the housework, which was unusual for him. Then he would run into the bedroom and coo at me. I spent so many years trying to mold a man to fit all my ideals, but in the end, I realized that it was all for nothing. Starting today, the name Emily will disappear. There is only Emily now, an independent and level-headed Emily who focuses on her career. The unpleasant things of the past I have completely put behind me.